Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's CXI Masterclass. My name is Vlad Demsar. I'm the co-director of the Customer Experience and Insights, or CXI Research Group at Swinburne University of Technology, and I'm going to be your host for this session. So this session is the third installment of an ongoing series of free and publicly accessible online masterclasses, which we run every single quarter. We have lots of attendees joining us today, including a diverse range of industry professionals, academic staff, and students from Swinburne University, as well as other universities, both domestic and abroad. The topic for this masterclass will be the possibilities and paradoxes of generative AI-enabled customer service, a guide for managers. And this work is really the culmination of a research project conducted by CXI Research Group in collaboration with our long-term partner, CPM Australia. So the format of this session will include a short introduction on the CPM CXI partnership and this research by Mariluz Restrepo, the Group Insights and Marketing Director at CPM Australia. Then Associate Professor Carla Ferraro from CXI Research Group will take us through the possibilities of AI chatbots for customer service. Then Professor Sean Sands, who is the chair of the Management and Marketing Department at Swinburne University, will discuss three important paradoxes for us to consider when it comes to AI chatbots and customer service. And I'll then outline three more paradoxes to round out the presentation. Once the presentations are finished, we'll have around 10 to 15 minutes or so for questions and discussion. So throughout the session, if you think of any questions or if you have any experiences you'd like to share, please pop them in the chat and I can then relay them to our presenters so that they can share their thoughts. Before we kick off, though, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional owners of the land on which Swinburne's Australian campuses are located in Melbourne's East and Outer East, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I also just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about the CXI Research Group more broadly so that those of us who are joining us for the first time have a good idea of who we are and what we do. So the Customer Experience and Insights Research Group at Swinburne University was formed around 8 years ago, and our mission is to advance technology and practice in the field of customer experience, and we do this at the nexus of customer insights and technological innovation. We kind of have 5 broad areas of expertise, which include customer and employee experience, brand identity and health, advertising effectiveness, product and service innovation, and consumer and digital cultures. And our activities kind of fall into 3 broad buckets, and within each of those buckets, we run a number of initiatives throughout the year. So the first bucket is free and publicly accessible content, which includes this masterclass series. The second bucket includes our executive education and our syndicated research programs. And then the final bucket is made up of bespoke research and insights consulting work, where we work closely with clients to help them understand, measure, and design various aspects of their customer experience. So that's a bit about CXI Research Group. I'll now hand over to Mariluz to introduce the CPM CXI partnership and the research project.
Thank you, Vlad. Today, I'm sharing about CPM's partnership with CXI Research Group and the meaningful benefits we gain from our collaboration. CPM has a history of actively engaging with the university sector to create value for our clients, employees, and the broader industry by integrating academic thinking with practical business applications. With a firm dedication to thought leadership research and education, we have established an ongoing partnership with the CXI Research Group starting in 2018. Since then, we have collaborated on a variety of initiatives. These initiatives encompass engaging the CXI Group for research and insights into Australian consumers and customer experience through commission and collaborative research. An example of commission research includes our tracking studies on the state of customer experience and Christmas shopping intentions. A collaborative initiative made possible by our long-standing association with the CXI Group is our partnership with Swinburne University's Master of Marketing program since 2022. This collaboration provides industry-based learning opportunities for students studying services marketing and customer management. We take great pride in acknowledging and celebrating the outstanding academic achievements of the top students in this unit over the past 2 years. As part of our partnership with CXI and our commitment to explore more about the potential of AI chatbots in customer service, we have collaborated on the journal paper that we are discussing today. This paper drew on academic research conducted by postgraduate students from the Services Marketing Unit, as well as consultations with customer service leaders from national and international businesses across various industries. In this paper, we identify and discuss 6 key possibilities and paradoxes of employing AI chatbots for customer service. Partnering with the CXI Research Group and including perspectives from the services marketing students as well as our clients has been incredibly fulfilling. As part of this masterclass, we want to let you know that we will provide a 2-page summary of the journal paper to all attendees after the event. Now, I hand over to Carla, who will talk about the possibilities of generative AI for customer service delivery. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Before I start, I'd like to again thank Mariluz and the fantastic team at CPM Australia for the many years of partnership and projects that we've collaborated on. And the unit partnership that Mariluz just mentioned and the paper have certainly been a highlight. And this is because we were able to not only provide our students that undertook the unit with another great authentic teaching and learning experience, but we were able to integrate their own insights and ideas with those of industry professionals and publish an article in one of the most widely read business journals globally, and that's called Business Horizons. And integrating our education and teaching practice is something we strive for at Swinburne. So thank you again for helping us achieve this. Okay, before discussing the key possibilities of AI chatbots for customer service, it's worth setting the scene with a couple of things. Firstly, to share our definition of customer service, because this can vary. And in our view, this includes the assistance and support provided by businesses or brands to its customer base before, during, and after they make a purchase or they use a product or service. To further set the scene, it's important to acknowledge that the significant role AI chatbots are and undoubtedly will continue to play in customer service delivery. And there's a few prominent examples there you can see listed on the slide. We're certainly seeing AI chatbots successfully and very efficiently taking on customer service tasks, such as solving routine complaints, helping customers make purchase decisions, and providing after-sales support. And if we look to both academic research and industry research, customer service applications have actually been identified as holding the greatest potential relative to other areas in business. So I think that's definitely something to take stock of. And research by BCG last year found that 95% of customer service leaders globally expect to have an AI chatbot embedded in their customer service strategy within the next 3 years. So most certainly an area to continue watching and learning about. For businesses, some of the main benefits are service immediacy, availability, scalability, and of course, cost and time efficiencies. And mostly that's compared to human agents. Also resource optimization, and it can also include things like enhancing brand performance, customer confidence, satisfaction, and loyalty, to name a few. Just picking up on productivity, once implemented at scale, AI chatbots can actually increase customer service productivity by between 30 and 50%, which I'm sure we can all agree is significant. On the consumer side, they're valuing things like immediacy, accessibility, and consistency of service, the level of personalization, which I'm going to talk further about in a moment, convenience, usefulness in resolving their queries, as well as social and novelty aspects. Sean, Vlad, and myself have been involved in a range of research projects over the last 3 to 4 years, And we've found that AI chatbots with human-like characteristics and even personality cues like warmth, playfulness, friendliness, they also lead to higher levels of customer satisfaction, interactivity, engagement, trust, even purchase intentions. However, it's important to acknowledge that there has been a lag in customer uptake, but this is shifting. And CPM Australia's own State of Customer Experience ongoing research study with Australian consumers does show this. Using AI chatbots for customer service purposes is on the rise, especially for those simple sort of routine customer service queries and tasks. This rated it at, it was actually 0 in 2020, but undertaking this research again last year, we saw it was 18%. That's a proportion of consumers that were actively using AI chatbots for customer service purposes. So certainly on the rise. Consumers also do face challenges in using this type of technology. So it might include things like data security risks, and these issues can create anger, confusion, dissatisfaction, but also lead to things like complete avoidance of the technology. So important to be aware of that. But taking stock of all of this, I think what it does highlight is the complementary role of AI chatbots for customer service alongside human agents, and that's really important. It also highlights the importance of considering both the strengths and the limitations of the technology, and validates the importance of considering the paradoxes of employing AI chatbots for customer service, which Sean and Vlad will take us through a little bit later. So in terms of the possibilities, these are most certainly grounded in generative AI, which we know is breaking boundaries of what's possible in many contexts, and of course, in relation to customer service and the overall customer experience. It's worth noting that while the added value of Gen AI tech means that the presence of a human is not necessary, AI chatbots in customer service settings will absolutely continue to have a level of human intervention and oversight, again, reinforcing that complementary role of AI chatbots. As Mariluz mentioned, the possibilities we identified were informed by secondary research, our postgraduate student work, and consultation with customer service leaders across a number of brands and industries. So across taking stock of all of that, we identified 6 key possibilities for employing AI chatbots for customer service delivery. So taking a quick look at these, and I'll talk through those that are in the darker shade of red in a bit more detail, just given that we do have a time constraint. They are, firstly, delivering high quality service across channels, which of course has always been a hallmark of customer service. But what we're seeing is AI chatbots bringing a new level of accuracy, convenience, and so forth, and also that consistency element. Secondly, supporting customer service teams through providing frontline support and then escalating to a human agent when it's required. And often that's for more complex customer queries or sensitive customer queries. Thirdly, empowering customers to self-serve and troubleshoot, which often in the realm of customer service can be quite a large portion of why customers reach out. So empowering them to do that, it might be looking for product availability or the delivery status of an order, for example. Fourth, improving customer engagement by reflecting on the brand style, the brand tone, language, look and feel, those sorts of elements. Fifth, personalizing the customer experience. And this could be, for example, through language translation and recommending products and services. And finally, they're collecting and analysing customer feedback and insight. It could be about themselves, it could be about products, but also service experiences. So you might have gathered, looking at these 6, that we've focused on those possibilities that are customer facing. So there's a direct interaction with the customer, but of course there are also many that exist behind the scenes in terms of the role that AI chatbots can play in customer service operations and workflows. But in the interest of time, let's have a look at those 3 dark sort of red shaded possibilities there next, and some real world examples and success metrics. So firstly, let's look at the possibility of improving customer brand engagement. So AI chatbots can be tailored with a brand's unique voice and personality, and this can bring a whole new level of consistency to customer service interactions. And also creates a really cohesive and familiar experience that resonates with the brand's identity. I should have said I'm going to focus on those key capabilities that we see there in bold, again, in the interest of time, but more than happy at the end to take some questions around the others. The second capability I'd like to talk about is interactive storytelling, where chatbots can use, this type of approach to engage customers in an immersive way. They can guide customers through narratives that align with the brand's values and products, and they can also make the interaction more memorable and enjoyable as a result. And another capability, which I think is really interesting, and certainly we're seeing some sort of fast movers already heading in this direction, is around proactive customer engagement. So chatbots can initiate interactions based on triggers such as abandoned carts, long periods of inactivity online or elsewhere, or browsing certain sections of a website. So this can re-engage customers, it can provide assistance, and I guess ultimately drive conversions. Let's now take a look at an example. And the example I wanted to talk about here was Sephora's virtual artist, which some of you might have heard about. But this really has been a game changer in the beauty industry and does an excellent job of engaging users with a really warm, friendly, and helpful tone. It also offers real-time personalized beauty recommendations and product quotes based on an individual customer's preferences. It allows customers to purchase products, update their beauty profiles, track their orders, and even sends proactive alerts about promotions and new arrivals, again, to sort of stimulate that sort of inspiration and re-engage the customer at any point in time. And all of this is available to their customers through the web, mobile app, and their social media platforms. And you can see on the slide there some really impressive metrics around just how successful this AI chatbot is. Okay, moving on to the next possibility, which is personalizing the customer experience. And I think something, every brand is striving to do. So a couple of capabilities here. AI chatbots, they can connect with customer relationship management databases. And by doing that, they can access detailed customer profiles, which of course is what we need to enable highly personalized interactions based on the customer's history and maybe also their preferences. AI chatbots can also adapt their conversational style to match the customer's preferences, whether that's formal or casual, for example. And this adaptability makes interactions feel much more natural and comfortable, and also aligns the communication style that the chatbot's using with the customer's expectations. And a final capability here is that AI chatbots can absolutely assist human service agents by providing relevant customer information and context during their interactions with customers. And this enables agents to offer more personalized and efficient service, and of course, sort of enhances that overall customer experience. An example I wanted to share here was from a major player in the luxury resale industry, Hardly Ever Worn It. They've got an AI chatbot called Maya, and it's a great example of this possibility because it offers curated suggestions to customers based on analysing their individual shopping habits and preferences. It also looks at trend and event searches and engages in really natural, context-aware conversations with customers, almost acting like a personal consultant, which I'm sure we'd all appreciate. Maya also offers personalised styling advice and sends customised alerts about new arrivals and exclusive deals that match that individual customer's interests. And again, looking at, I guess, the success of this AI chatbot, you can see some even more impressive statistics around what's unfolded since this chatbot has been implemented. Moving on to the final possibility, let's take a look at collecting and analysing customer intelligence, which as researchers gets all of us extremely excited. Again, talking to a couple of these capabilities, the first being automated data collection and processing. So AI chatbots can automatically collect and process huge amounts of customer data from their interactions. It could be from chat logs, queries, even transaction histories. And this automation really streamlines data gathering and ensures that the information that's captured, it's captured efficiently and also accurately and doesn't need manual intervention. Another capability lies in customer profile enrichment. So through those continuous interactions that a customer has with an AI chatbot, it can sort of use those to enrich that customer's profile, updating and sort of adding new data points as they come into play. And this ongoing update really helps to maintain accurate and comprehensive profiles of customers, which, as we just spoke about, is really important for personalization and, I guess, marketing strategies more broadly. And finally, experimentation and problem identification. So AI chatbots can also facilitate these sorts of activities. It might be some A/B testing different sort of scenarios or different conditions to work out what's optimal or most effective. It can also determine the effectiveness of different approaches and identify problems in real time, which I'm sure we can understand the value of that, and just the ability to make sort of data-driven decisions very quickly and also resolve any issues that arise very quickly as well. An example here would be certainly one we're all familiar with, but is Amazon's Alexa. So Alexa does a great job of conducting advanced topic modeling, sentiment analysis, and more of customer reviews, and it looks at key themes and even emotions from that feedback. Alexa also synthesizes those reviews. It does it by product and provides users with concise and insightful summaries of those products, which they can then use to inform their purchase decisions. Alexa also leverages real-time data to track emerging trends and common customer concerns, and this enables Amazon to continuously improve its product and service offerings. So another great example, and again, some pretty obvious success factors there in terms of how it's been working since its implementation. Okay, and to balance the consideration of these possibilities, Sean and Vlad are now going to talk through some of the potential contradictions or paradoxes in doing so, and how businesses and brands can best respond to these. Over to you, Sean.
Thanks, Carla. Great. As Carla said, we're going to talk now about some of these key paradoxes. And I think just first some context in terms of defining a paradox, I think it's important to kind of set that scene. But if you think about a paradox, it's typically a statement or a proposition that despite having some form of reasoning that sounds acceptable, kind of leads to a contradiction. So we, through the research, came up and identified these 6 different paradoxes that particularly come to the fore with regards to AI chatbots. But if you step back, they're kind of paradoxes that do apply more broadly to technology as well. And I think we've started to see them come into play in recent years. So we're going to talk about 6 paradoxes. I'm going to touch on the first 3, being connected yet isolated, lower cost yet higher price, and higher quality yet less empathy. And then I'm going to pass over to Vlad, who will talk about the final 3 paradoxes. So as I said, these paradoxes are not really just abstract concepts, but they're also real challenges and essentially opportunities that face businesses today. So the first one is connected yet isolated. Think about today's digital age, we're really more connected than ever before through social media and messaging apps, online communities and so on, and now increasingly through numerous AI facilitated channels as well. But if you step back and think about connectivity, many people do feel or report feeling more isolated and lonely. For instance, with the rise of social media in recent years, we've seen platforms like Instagram and Facebook create these kind of virtual communities where people get together, share and interact. But many users do report this kind of notion of isolation, loneliness and disconnection. So this notion and this paradox does transfer from social media and technology more broadly into the technology that we're seeing in the applications of AI. So research really does indicate, if you look globally at research, and particularly in social channels, we're seeing that almost 2/3 of people report some feeling of isolation through being online, and we see that trend filtering down to human interactions in service settings as well when they're interacting potentially through AI platforms. There's a number of things that brands have been doing globally to kind of counteract and think about how to tackle this issue. If we take a step back, macro picture and look at some of the tech brands, Apple's integrated a whole lot of features to encourage more human contact and face-to-face interaction, platforms like FaceTime and so on, to kind of facilitate that kind of FaceTime, let's call it, an actual connection. There's been a huge push in terms of social wellness particularly with apps. There's been, I think, the likes of Calm and Headspace have been particularly popular in recent years. And these apps are really driving towards promoting mindfulness and enhancing consumers' mental well-being, really encouraging users to think about disconnecting from screens as well and fostering real-world connections. So these are elements that brands will increasingly have to think about and contemplate as they move towards more AI-facilitated interactions. If I think about another brand as well that's worthwhile thinking about, talking about here, it's Patagonia, and they've capitalized on this paradox by promoting this notion of environmental conservation and really fostering a sense of community through shared values, real-world activism, encouraging people to connect in meaningful ways beyond the screen. So I think brands really need to think about what brands that are moving into AI need to think about what other brands are doing in the more broad tech space and how that can kind of filter down into the potential for AI customer service to elevate this sense of isolation. The second paradox I'm going to talk about is lower cost yet higher price. This might seem a little bit counterintuitive at first, but it kind of reflects a complex dynamic in modern markets. On the one hand, these advancements in tech and global supply chains and so on have enabled companies to reduce production costs, but there's also been this significant cost to society, or if not a cost yet that's been realized, a cost that's definitely discussed, particularly around the notion of potential job losses. So there's this potential, I guess, omnipresent fear that with automation, and particularly in customer service roles and service situations, that there's this price that could be paid in terms of job losses, particularly with the potential for some roles to become redundant. So brands really need to think about how they can address this by thinking about or encouraging employees to think about using Gen AI as a tool to enhance rather than replace roles. And I think the best brands at the forefront here will be thinking about how they can use AI and this tech to augment the human experience rather than replace the human experience. Because I think if we go too far down the road of replacing the human experience, there will be a backlash where people push back and want to have that human-to-human interaction. So I think customer service representatives can think of ways, or brands can think of ways to leverage AI chatbots to, for instance, handle routine inquiries, allowing humans to focus on more complex or personalized customer interactions. This is similar to, I guess, what's been happening in recent years in manufacturing, for instance, where workers have been trained to use tech and automated systems to oversee and manage quality control, rather than entirely replace that notion of human judgment. And so I think that's a really important kind of nuance here with this paradox. If you think about that as an example, with what's happening in retail today, we see companies like Amazon bringing into the forefront these cashierless stores with the view to lower operational costs. And what we're seeing now has been a few years since these Amazon Go stores were kind of brought to the fore. We've seen some success, some limited success, a little bit of a novelty bump at the beginning with consumers liking the concept, but then almost a slowing down where people are actually looking for this human-to-human interaction. And now there's, you can see stores around the world that are actually introducing in supermarkets this notion of a slow checkout. So rather than just having a cashierless checkout, recognizing that there are people, in particular groups of people, the elderly, for instance, that do value this notion of social cohesion and even conversation with salespeople. So some supermarkets around the world are actually introducing a slow checkout, which are encouraging the cashier and the customer to have a kind of a social connection and just a chat. The third paradox I'm going to talk to here is one we call higher quality yet less empathy. So in the quest for kind of innovation and efficiency, many businesses have prioritized tech advancements and quality improvements. We've seen this in a number of sectors, healthcare, for instance, where medical tech have advanced dramatically in recent years, leading to better diagnostics and treatments and so on. And this drive for quality can sometimes result in a lack of empathy and disconnect, particularly if we think about health in the health sector, this disconnect with patients' emotional needs. And on the one hand, we have this kind of paradox where and particularly if I use health as an example here, where patients do see the value of using something like an AI to help diagnose a problem, because you can bring in, thousands of other diagnoses from patients around the world to try and help kind of understand the diagnosis for you as a patient. But then as well, you do want to overlay that empathy or human element. You don't just want an AI saying, sorry, it's not treatable, move to the next patient. So there's this need to kind of overlay with the quality that we're getting out of AI with human empathy. So, we're seeing this a lot in healthcare as an example I kind of talk about here. This implementation of AI and has really enhanced surgical precision and patient care. Yet there's definitely been this lack of human touch. So I think brands will really need to grapple with how they manage this paradox. Brands like Warby Parker have been doing things in this space, integrating technology with a kind of very high focus on the customer experience. So for instance, offering online eye exams and virtual try-ons, while also maintaining this really strong focus on the customer experience, community engagement, and focusing on customer service. Brands like Zappos also do really well in this respect too, thinking about how they've built the brand in a kind of tech world, a kind of online environment, but focusing very much on the quality of the experience and genuine empathy between sales associates and customers. The final example I'll just talk about here is one I was lucky enough a few years ago to see the CEO of Starbucks speak about what they were doing or what they've been doing with regard to their AI journey. They developed a program internally at Starbucks called Deep Brew, kind of drawing off the IBM Deep Blue work many years ago. But this notion of Deep Brew was trying to think about how they could integrate AI to facilitate interactions between their sales associates, staff, and customers. And one of the fears was that AI would kind of detract from that connection, and that Starbucks really recognized that the connection between the sales associate and the customer is really important. So what they've actually looked to do with the AI that they've integrated is build in AI to the microphone that a sales associate has at the counter, and basically it records the conversation between the customer and the sales associate and translates that spoken conversation into an order on the counter. On the screen, so that what that does is it takes the sales associate's time away from looking down at the screen and punching the order in, to giving them more time to maintain eye contact with the customer, and it allows the AI to take over that role of punching the order into the screen, and then the sales associate can just double check that it's all right. So there are ways that technology and AI in particular are helping us to create this kind of level of empathy and connection between humans, but it's definitely the exception, and I think something that brands need to definitely work on. So just to sum up my little section there, these paradoxes, connected yet isolated, lower cost yet higher price, and higher quality yet less empathy, really highlight the complexities of modern consumer behavior and the landscape in which brands are operating with. And they really do present challenges, but I believe opportunities as well for innovation and connection. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Vlad to talk about the last three paradoxes.
Thank you, Sean. So the fourth paradox that we kind of need to consider when thinking about AI chatbots for customer service is kind of this balance between creating customer satisfaction and avoiding customer frustration. And so the new kind of generation of chatbots that we're seeing can sort of interpret and resolve customer issues more efficiently and accurately than their predecessors, which leads to overall better customer experiences and greater customer satisfaction. This type of technology now can be trained to reflect the style, tone, the language, the look and feel and personality of a brand, which kind of humanizes the brand and provides a more consistent and familiar experience. And we also know that the latest generations of AI chatbots can draw from customer data platforms and previous conversations, meaning that they can provide a more sophisticated and contextualized and engaging customer experience than ever before. So this could include, for example, engaging in conversations with customers while they browse or shop our digital channels, providing information about, the brand, its products and services, as well as creating, changing and managing things like bookings for the customer, as well as lots of other tasks that can lead to a high degree of satisfaction overall. But at the same time, there's also this kind of possibility that AI chatbots can lead to a degree of frustration as well. And one of the reasons for this is their kind of limited ability to understand the nuances of human language and emotions. And unfortunately, AI chatbots may not be able to understand complex customer requests or provide a level of empathy that customers are looking for, especially for those that are looking to address a difficult or personal issue that they may have with the brand. So it's possible that customers who are seeking assistance with these sort of complex or emotionally charged issues could feel unheard or misunderstood, and that could lead to some degree of customer frustration. And really, there's kind of three ways that we think, or from our research, that brands can manage this. So the key thing here is that customers don't kind of get to that point where they feel stuck or helpless when an AI chatbot doesn't understand or empathize with their situation. So the first strategy is to sort of use AI chatbots in low involvement or mundane customer service encounters. So this could be things like retrieving or updating account information, managing bookings, and so on. And a good example that we've seen, throughout this research is how the supermarkets are doing this through their online grocery shopping apps. And in particular, Woolies is doing this quite well through their chatbot, which I think is called Olive. And the chatbot kind of handles customer returns for online grocery orders really well. And that kind of ties into the second point here, which is to train these chatbots to identify frustration early through certain language markers and then automatically route these requests to human support. And then the third one, which also kind of logically links to this, is to always clearly signal to customers that they can opt to talk to a human at any point if they feel like the chatbot is not really able to resolve their query quickly and in the way that they would like. So number 5 kind of comes from the general view that while the data collection associated with certain marketing technologies leads to more personalized experiences, it can also lead to a degree of intrusiveness and privacy concerns at the same time. And because AI chatbots have this capability to integrate with CRM systems, CDPs, and inventory management systems, they offer us an opportunity to kind of create these hyper-personalized customer experiences. So they can identify and recall individual customer demographics, conversations, purchase histories, service issues, and preferences, as well as their browsing patterns through certain cookies and so on, and provide a really high degree of tailored customer support. And they can also adapt their conversational style to match or complement the customer's native language, their own personal conversational style and tone, and really provide a really personalized and contextualized experience. And even when we get to the point of handing over to a human agent from an AI chatbot, the AI chatbot can provide a summary of that customer data, the conversation that's been had already, the customer's preferences, which can be retrieved, and any other relevant information, so that transition from from AI agent to human agent is as seamless as possible. And the best thing about it, of course, is that it can be done at scale. But the large amount of data that's collected and analyzed by these platforms also raises intrusiveness and privacy concerns for a lot of consumers. And interactions with AI chatbots often involve sharing highly personalized information, such as the customer's name, their contact details, their purchase history. And this kind of data can then be used, of course, to track customer behavior, target customers with ads, and even sell customer data to third parties in some cases. And in addition to this, AI chatbots in some cases, like the kind of medical or health field, may need to collect sensitive data such as medical or financial records, which can harm customers through identity fraud and theft. And through our research, what really came through is that to manage these risks, there are a few steps that brands can take, and there's 2 really important ones. And the first one is to be really transparent and open about customer data collection and use. And the research shows us that customers generally feel more comfortable in sharing their data when companies have open and transparent data collection and privacy policies. And these policies, or at least a link to these policies, is visible somewhere on the screen when the customer is interacting with the chatbot. And the second is to give customers control over their data. And this means having the option to opt out of data collection and delete their personal data and conversation history at any point. And our 6th and final paradox kind of revolves around this idea that AI chatbots are powerful machine learning entities, but it's also this advanced capability that kind of makes them a little bit vulnerable to exploitation. And if they are exploited, this could lead to reputational damage for brands. Now, one of the things that makes AI chatbots really great is their ability to learn from training data sets. And as they process and kind of ingest more and more training data, they become exponentially more sophisticated in the responses that they're able to generate. And if in some cases, groups of users come together and feed the AI chatbot malicious training data, the chatbot may start to reproduce some of this data in the responses to other consumers. And one of the most famous examples of this happened back in 2016. And Microsoft kind of launched a chatbot called Tay, which was an AI chatbot built to have public conversations with users on Twitter, which of course is now known as X. And within hours of this chatbot being launched, users from quite an infamous online forum called 4chan were sending hundreds of private messages to this chatbot containing racist, sexist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic statements. And because the chatbot couldn't distinguish whether this was inappropriate, its machine learning algorithm started to incorporate some of these statements and sentiments in its public responses to other unsuspecting customers and responding to them with racist, sexist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic replies. And of course, Microsoft took a reputational hit and then pulled the chatbot off Twitter before it could do any more damage. And of course, this happened some time ago and on a much less sophisticated AI platform compared to what we have now. But it kind of highlights this fundamental premise behind AI chatbots and that they are so heavily influenced by training data. And this can be manipulated in ways that aren't positive if it's left unsupervised and unregulated. And it doesn't have to be a severe case, such as the one I've just described to you. It can simply be a case that the training data leads to inaccurate replies. So if a customer service chatbot is trained using public web data and allowed to incorporate all customer conversations into its training data set, this could lead to inaccuracies or what we call hallucinations, where the chatbot could produce responses that sound accurate but are actually false. And while this might be okay for mass scale AI platforms like ChatGPT and so on, it probably wouldn't be appropriate for a customer service chatbot, and it could lead to a poor customer experience. Now, luckily, with the advancements in AI tech, there are some ways that we can mitigate these risks. So the most important one of these is to limit the scope of training data for customer service chatbots. So, if you think about the fundamental goal of a customer service chatbot, they're not really expected to have a broad level of knowledge about every topic. And this means that the training data can be restricted to only the relevant and safe data sets for that particular case. So this could include secondary data like previous customer service interaction records, companies' internal knowledge base and internal databases and so on. And we could also feed the chatbot primary data where we get a subset of customers who are recruited for the purpose of interacting with the chatbot in real time. And then over an extended period, the kind of chatbot is introduced to larger and larger pools of consumers in a kind of staged release to help train the chatbot. Another strategy is then to set specific parameters that dictate how a chatbot identifies and treats offensive content and language. And when it detects this type of content, there could be a predetermined response or a set of predetermined responses, and the content would be automatically excluded from any future training data to prevent it from influencing the algorithm. And finally, we could, of course, also develop filters that will identify and block repeat offenders based on certain identifying characteristics of the person that's interacting with the chatbot. So that kind of brings us to the end of our paradoxes. And what we've shared here really is some things for you to think about. And there's a real balance there between some of the fantastic possibilities and the benefits that AI chatbots could bring to us in the realm of customer service, with some of the considerations and potential risks that they could bring as well, and how we could go about mitigating these risks and really make sure that we get the most out of these chatbots in the customer service domain. So that concludes the presentation for today, and hopefully it's given you a bit of a new perspective on some of these possibilities and paradoxes. I'd like to now open up the audience for questions and discussion. So if you have any questions or insights you'd like to share, you can type them in the chat and I can relay them to our presenters as we go. And feel free to either pop them in the public chat if you like, or you can directly message me and I can relay your question to the presenters. Okay, so we've got a question for Sean here. So with the implementation of generative AI in customer service, there's many tasks that are currently being done by humans, which will be automated. How can brands effectively balance the cost benefits with the potential societal impact of job losses?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and one that I think brands are really still struggling with. I think that there'll probably be a rush to absorb as much efficiency as possible in the short term. So there'll be a push for brands to move from humans to automation, and there might be some more job losses than people would like. But I have the feeling that not too long after that, there will be this kind of renaissance. I think it's like we've seen with vinyl records and that kind of stuff. We've seen people moving from digital technology back to analog in recent times, and I think it'll be the same in this respect. I think people will have this kind of yearning for the old days when they actually spoke with people. So I think that brands will have to realign their focus on trade-offs between job losses and efficiencies and actually balance those two things out. I don't know how long that'll take, but that's my guess.
Yeah, one of the things I've heard as well, Sean, is that there could be potential price premiums set for customer service interactions with humans and services and so on that are delivered by humans, as opposed to the less expensive services that are delivered by AI and then overseen by humans and so on. So I think that kind of presents an interesting dynamic going forward. Just got a question here from Generative. So what might be some great examples of AI bots that are used as complementary to human customer service roles? Might throw it to Carla for that one, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I guess my initial response is the three examples I focused on today are of that nature. They are all used very much to complement the human customer service teams that exist for those businesses. So they all do reflect that. A couple of examples I didn't talk about, H&M, which I'm sure we're all aware of, global sort of fashion house. They have a similar AI chatbot to Sephora's virtual assistant, so providing personalized style advice and information. Certainly the first sort of port of call for those simple routine queries that come in from customers, but very seamlessly escalates to a human if there is a query that is more complex or requires some sensitivity in terms of addressing it or resolving that problem. And there are, of course, many more, but I think, just to reiterate, those I shared today are all about that. And I think any brand that's been in this space for some time and has implemented or integrated AI chatbots into their customer service operations, they would be thinking in this way.
Yeah, but I think also Sean's example of the Starbucks one where, the chatbot kind of assists the human to take the order while the human kind of focuses on the interaction and the relationship building, I think is also another really great example of how, frontline and even in physical spaces, this could be implemented to assist people as well. Just got another question that's been sent privately, and this one's for Carla. What are some possibilities for AI chatbots in customer service delivery that are behind the scenes or in the background to the customer?
Yeah, great question. And I did briefly mention this, and the conversations we had with customer service leaders and even some of the work that our students did pick up on lots of things that were behind the scenes. So a couple of things I think I've already mentioned, which are sort of fronting the customer but also behind the scenes, and they're things like the data analysis and insight capabilities of AI chatbots. And even the integration with other systems, that can be so helpful to have that seamless integration with things like a CRM system, it might be a help desk or other sort of enterprise software, just to have that seamless integration to make sure there's sort of a unified view of customers, their history, and just being able to help them in the most informed way possible. Excuse me. Another way would be sort of automating workflow management. So, AI chatbots, they could streamline and automate back-end processes. It might be sort of ticket routing or prioritizing a customer's query above others based on how urgent that query is. A chatbot would do a great sort of job there as well. And maybe also things like, maintenance. So picking up on any issues, it might be a system failure or a service disruption, but, in real time, alerting the business or brand that something's happened, and picking that up from, of course, various data sources and allowing the brand to respond quite quickly. And one final point I might add, which CPM Australia is also, doing some great work in this space, is around employee training and support. And really, an AI chatbot can simulate a myriad of things to really help upskill and reskill, and even just in an ongoing sense, keep employees up to date, either with information or particular skill sets that are evolving.
Yeah, fantastic. I also quite like that idea of when a AI chatbot hands over to a human, that it provides a real summary of the customer's background, their previous conversations and everything else, so that there's a really kind of smooth and kind of seamless handover that the customer doesn't see, but everything just appears to work like magic and the human knows, what has happened up to that point. Just got another question here from Dr. Yolanda Vega, which was, what are the potential negative psychological effects that customers could experience with AI bots? Might throw to Sean maybe for this one.
Yeah, I think we've probably all had those experiences where we've called Telstra and spoken to, the automated system, and it doesn't understand us and we're trying to get through to a human. I think there's the potential for that kind of frustration in particular, if you're not being heard or your response is not being dealt with in the way that you expect it to be dealt with. I think whether it's probably a relatively short-term psychological effect, but I think that frustration and anger are definitely two things that could pretty quickly come to the fore for customers. But yeah, I think this is all something in terms of that paradox, satisfaction versus frustration. There's definitely a need to kind of counterbalance those psychological effects.
Yeah, and I think for me, that feeling of helplessness when you're sort of stuck with an AI bot and you don't have the option to talk to a human, but you really need a problem resolved that might be having a personal impact. That feeling of helplessness is something that I don't really want to see play out in the customer service domain. But I think also, Sean, to what you talked to, which is that kind of isolation element, and imagining a future in 30 years' time where every problem we have with a company, or anytime we want to get any kind of customer service or support, we have to work our way through, a myriad of chatbots that every company is putting out, and before we can actually talk to a human, that might be pretty daunting and isolating for consumers as well. So there has to be a right balance between those customer service channels and how we execute them. Okay, we can take one last question. Which is, what are the possible negative effects that AI could have on those in a sales or customer service role? It seems that as an agent, it can be quite concerning how easily we could become obsolete in the future. Sean or Carla, did you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I can jump in. I think, in the same vein that we just discussed, some of the potential negative effects on customers, the same exists for employees. And I think it was Sean, with the paradoxes you talked through today, spoke about, the fact that I guess we all did, we're talking about a complementary role, and there's many ways that human service agents can actually use AI chatbots to enhance what they do, not replace it. So I think it does come back to sort of training and development of those teams to sort of help them navigate the role that AI chatbots can play to really elevate what they're already doing. And I guess, a big benefit there to those teams is allowing the AI chatbot to be that frontline sort of support and handle those more simple queries, and really allow the teams and the human agents to focus on, the more complex things that really do require a human touch.
Yeah, and I think for me, using the kind of human element as a point of differentiation will become important in the future, where companies who, have primarily human sales teams will be able to charge price premiums for having that relationship management process in place, rather than having to deal with an AI chatbot at first. I think we might just take this last question in the last minute, which was, do we feel there are opportunities for chatbots to become anthropomorphized and lifelike, moving beyond text and dynamic facial expressions? And just quickly, I might touch on this myself. And I think that one of the things that we noticed throughout our research, not just in this paper, but others in the past, is that, people want some element of human likeness in chatbots and being able to interact with kind of what looks like an entity, but not so much that it looks too human, because that's the point at which we hit that kind of uncanny valley type of territory where people feel uncomfortable that it's a little bit too human looking and kind of start to pull away. That might be all we have time for today. There's been some really fantastic discussion. I might just touch on a couple more things before we let you all go. So just wanted to firstly highlight how you can keep up to date and get involved with some of the activities of the group and the work we do. So you can sign up to our newsletter, which contains the latest CX trends and insights and is sent out quarterly. If you'd like, you can also follow our LinkedIn page, which now has, I think, over 12,000 followers globally. And this is where we kind of post regular content and updates. Or if you want to chat to us directly about our work or anything we do, just drop us an email at any time to the address on the screen. And lastly, that kind of wraps up our third installment of the CXI Masterclass series. So we're going to be announcing our next Masterclass date and topic in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. I'd like to say a massive thank you to CPM Australia for working so closely and collaboratively with us on this research project and for their support over the last number of years. I'd also like to thank our presenters for putting together the presentations for this session. And finally, thank you to all of you for joining us. Hopefully we've managed to inspire you with some fresh ideas and discussion related to AI chatbots in customer service. And we look forward to seeing you all at the next CXI Masterclass. Bye for now.